Evening had settled over the city, painting the skyscrapers in hues of fading orange and purple. I was at our kitchen island, absently scrolling through Instagram, waiting for Emily. No alarms were going off, no red flags waving, just a persistent unease, a whisper in the back of my mind that something was off kilter. For months, Emily had been distant. At first, work stress seemed the obvious culprit. Late nights at the office became the norm, and our relationship morphed into a series of routines devoid of real connection. But as weeks bled into months, subtle discrepancies started to surface. Her phone became an extension of her hand. Even across the dinner table, it was there, a silent barrier. Bathroom trips always included it, only relinquishing its grip when charging in our bedroom. Upon her return, a faint aura of being caught out lingered, a subtle shift in her demeanor. Texts were curt, clipped responses. The everyday anecdotes, the little joys and frustrations she once eagerly shared, vanished. Her eyes, the eyes I used to lose myself in, were vacant, unfocused. I fought against jumping to conclusions, but a cold dread settled deep within. Emptiness. That's what I felt the moment she walked, or rather didn't walk into a room. Emily had changed irrevocably, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. Then, one ordinary Tuesday night, reaching for my jacket by the door, I saw it. Her phone, abandoned on the couch. Normally, I wouldn't give it a second thought. But something, a gut instinct, or maybe just exhaustion from living in denial, propelled me forward. I picked it up, the screen illuminated, revealing an open message. Jake, a name I didn't recognize. My stomach plummeted. I knew it was wrong, an invasion of privacy, but at that moment I was beyond restraint. The conversation initially appeared innocuous. Small talk, casual jokes, but as I scrolled, my breath hitched, my eyes widening in disbelief. Flirtation laced the words, subtle hints of intimacy, veiled plans for rendezvous. I should have stopped, should have put the phone down, confronted her then and there. Instead, I kept scrolling, driven by a morbid curiosity, a need for concrete proof, like some twisted ritual I had to complete. Deeper I went, the more horrifying it became. The texts escalated beyond flirtation into brazen declarations. Secret meetings were arranged, dates planned, hotels even mentioned. Feelings, raw and exposed, were laid bare. Something I hadn't heard from Emily in months. This wasn't just talk. They were immersed in something profound, something serious. The world around me slowed, sounds fading into a dull hum. I don't know how long I stood there, transfixed by the screen, a knot tightening in my chest, my stomach churning with betrayal. The kind of gut-wrenching, all-consuming betrayal you read about in novels, never imagining it could be your reality. My hands trembled as I placed the phone back on the couch, almost fearing she'd walk in, sensing the seismic shift that had just occurred. My mind raced, a whirlwind of confusion and anger. Confrontation screamed in my ears, but I held back. Not yet. I needed time to process the shock, to formulate a response. That evening she kissed me on the cheek, a perfunctory gesture, a mask of normalcy, but I saw it in her eyes, or thought I did. A flicker of guilt, a shadow of awareness. Or maybe it was just my heightened paranoia. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. The pretense shattered, the charade exposed. Lies, secrets, an affair. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. So I said nothing. I played the part, the unsuspecting husband, pretending everything was fine, while everything had irrevocably changed. Now, a choice loomed, heavy and unavoidable. The next few days were a distorted version of our usual life, a disturbing normalcy. Emily went to her high-powered job downtown. I went to mine. We ate dinner together at our usual time, in our usual spots. But now, every word she uttered felt hollow, every glance forced. She was oblivious, or so I hoped. Time stretched, allowing the seed of revenge to take root and grow. The more I considered my options, the more a dark desire solidified within me. I didn't just want to expose her infidelity. I wanted her to feel the agonizing pain that was consuming me. I craved the devastation on her face, wanted to witness her spiral, mirroring my own internal collapse. But not a quick, messy confrontation. No, I wanted to strike where it would inflict maximum damage, her financial world. We had built a comfortable life in New York. Decent salaries, a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, savings accumulating for a future we both envisioned. It all seemed solid, secure, progressing according to plan. But it was all a facade, built on a foundation of lies. A plan began to crystallize, cold and calculated. I had access to everything: joint accounts, savings, credit cards. She trusted me implicitly, completely, and a twisted part of me relished the idea of dismantling everything she had worked for, everything we had built together. But I wouldn't act rashly, wouldn't let her see it coming. I started subtly, transferring small amounts into an old, forgotten emergency account I had opened years ago. Incremental withdrawals, designed to avoid raising immediate red flags. Credit card statements became tools of torture, each transaction a painful reminder of her betrayal. Dining, travel, gifts, all cloaked in innocent categories, yet screaming of deception. How much of our shared money had she lavished on him? Anger, sharp and suffocating, pulsed through me. A meticulous list began to form, outlining each step of my plan. One afternoon, alone in the quiet of our brownstone, I called the bank, requesting a new account, solely in my name. Withdrawals, transfers, it all accumulated, a silent drain on our shared resources. The goal wasn't just financial ruin. It was about control, about forcing her into a position of desperation where she would be compelled to confront the consequences of her actions. I wanted to watch her suffer, mirroring my own torment. The more I plotted, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about hurting her financially. It was about obliterating the life we had constructed together, brick by agonizing brick. Days turned into weeks, each sunrise bringing me closer to my goal. I imagined the look on her face when the truth detonated, when she realized everything, absolutely everything, was gone. But for now I maintained the charade, the loving husband, just a little longer. Days stretched into a deceptive calm, a fragile normalcy hanging precariously in the air. Emily continued her routine, still oblivious to the tectonic shift beneath her feet. I persisted with my quiet preparations, small sums moving electronically, savings dwindling incrementally. The transfers were almost imperceptible at first, just enough to set the stage, to lay the groundwork. Patience was key. Move too fast, suspicion might arise, so I bided my time, observing her, waiting for the precise moment to unleash my plan. Then the day arrived. Everything was in place. The money was gone, safely transferred to an account she knew nothing about. Credit cards maxed out. A loan, taken out jointly, a financial anchor that would drag her down long after I was gone. Timing was crucial. I waited until Emily left for work that morning, a little earlier than usual, no doubt. A secret rendezvous with Jake or some other nameless face in this sordid drama. Details didn't matter anymore. All that consumed me was the execution of my meticulously crafted plan. A strange calm descended as I initiated the final steps. Hands steady, I transferred the last vestiges of our joint funds. Then I leaned back in my chair, surveying the brownstone we had shared for so many years. An odd sensation washed over me, knowing I would never return to this life. But it paled in comparison to the burning satisfaction simmering in my chest. No time for sentimentality. I packed a small bag, grabbed my wallet, and walked out the door for the last time. No dramatic farewell, no theatrical exit, just a quiet departure, as if stepping out for a quick errand. But inside, a tempest raged. I was consumed by the anticipation of her impending devastation, the sweet taste of retribution. I didn't need to witness her suffering directly to know it would be profound. I checked into a cheap motel in Queens, far enough to avoid immediate confrontation, but close enough to monitor the fallout. I knew she would try to reach me, and I was prepared for that, but the calls would go unanswered. Not yet. Not until the damage was irreversible. The explosion was immediate, deafening. By the time the first text message flashed across my burner phone, I knew my plan had detonated. Desperate, frantic, her messages were a jumbled mess of confusion, disbelief, and raw anger. "John, what the hell is going on? Why are all the accounts frozen? Where is our money?" The second message arrived moments later, even more urgent, more panicked. "Why are you doing this? Why would you take everything? I don't understand. We were fine." What did I do to deserve this? I remained silent, a ghost in her digital world. The next morning, a call from an old college buddy who worked at her bank. He didn't know the specifics, but he gave me a heads up. Emily was on the warpath, frantically trying to unravel the financial apocalypse. Accounts wiped clean. The bank had informed her the transactions were all legitimate, or at least appeared so on the surface. A grim smile played on my lips. I pictured her in our Brooklyn brownstone, staring at her phone in utter disbelief, the world collapsing around her. Still no urge to check on her, no flicker of empathy. Her suffering, whether visible or concealed, was enough. But Emily wasn't one to surrender easily. The calls intensified, each one more frantic, more desperate. Finally, her voice, laced with anger and desperation, broke through my digital wall. "John, pick up the phone. I don't care what's going on with you, but you need to fix this. I can't do this alone. Please, just tell me where you are." Still silence. Over the next few days, the situation escalated. Emily reached out to mutual friends, casting a wide net, seeking answers in the void. But no one knew my whereabouts, not even my family. She was isolated, adrift. And I, in my cheap motel room, felt a strange sense of detached peace. No more lies, no more pretense. The money was gone. The life we had built together, pulverized. I had nothing left to lose. But heartless, no. I felt the weight of the pain I was inflicting, the knot in my stomach tightening with a different kind of tension, a nascent doubt. Had I gone too far? Was this truly what I wanted? I had broken her, undeniably. But had I shattered something within myself as well? The internal conflict lingered, a shadow in my satisfaction. But there was no turning back now. The first time I dared to look at Emily's social media, almost a week after I vanished, the transformation was stark. The curated perfection, the filtered smiles of vacations and social gatherings were gone, replaced by a series of fragmented, cryptic messages. I don't know who I am anymore. I thought everything was perfect, but now nothing makes sense. A photo of a shattered coffee mug eerily similar to our set appeared, a subtle, desperate cry for help, a public display of her unraveling. Emily had lost everything, not just material possessions, but something deeper, intangible. She was sinking, and I could almost feel her descent through the digital ether. But mercy? No, not after what she had done. I had planned for her to suffer, but the depth of her struggles, the sheer magnitude of the fallout was beyond my initial calculations. It wasn't just financial ruin. Her social standing, her reputation, were crumbling. Friends, once supportive, distanced themselves. Colleagues at work noticed the shift, the erratic moods, the frantic energy. The composed, in-control Emily was dissolving, replaced by someone desperate, broken. Then another message, different in tone, arriving late one night. "John, I know I hurt you. I know what I did was unforgivable. But please just come back. Let's talk. I'll do anything." For the first time since I left, I hesitated, just for a fleeting moment, then deleted. The more I witnessed her breakdown, the less potent my anger became. But the choice was made, the Rubicon crossed. No retreat. Weeks blurred into months. The true cost of my actions became brutally clear. I had underestimated her dependence on the life we had built. The ease, the luxury, the carefully constructed facade. She had taken it all for granted, and now faced the stark reality of a life stripped bare. Initial messages, pleading for my well-being, morphed into desperate pleas for forgiveness. Phone calls grew more frantic, bordering on hysteria. "John, I swear I'll make things right. Whatever I did, I'll fix it," one message read, lost in the digital deluge. Initially, nothing. No pity, no regret. Just the cold, hard image of the woman who had shattered our trust. who had turned our marriage into a hollow charade while living a double life of deceit. But deep down, beneath layers of anger and hurt, something else stirred. Guilt. A creeping suspicion that maybe, just maybe, I had crossed an irreversible line. But by then, it was too late. I had taken everything. She had nothing left. I watched from afar as she lost her grip on everything she once held dear. Her professional life began to unravel. Co-workers whispered, noticing the change, the lack of focus, the disheveled appearance. Emily, once the epitome of poise and control, was now a shadow of her former self. Office gossip swirled, late to meetings, distracted, unfocused. One evening, eavesdropping unintentionally, I overheard a conversation with Susan, a mutual friend. Desperation dripped from Emily's voice. "I don't know how to fix this, Susan. I don't know how to fix me." Her voice cracked, tears choking her words. "I thought I had everything under control, but now I've lost everything. I don't even know if I can go back to work." A pang, sharp and unexpected, pierced my chest, but I suppressed it. A reflex honed by weeks of anger. Consequences. She had reaped what she had sown. She had walked out of our marriage emotionally long before I physically left, showing no regard for the devastation she inflicted. Now she would taste the bitterness of her own actions. Yet, seeing her at the Upper West Side Whole Foods a few days later, something shifted. Unplanned, unintentional, our paths crossed in aisle 5. Her hands trembled as she fumbled with her credit card at the checkout, a small pile of groceries. Basics, nothing extravagant. The line behind her lengthened, impatient sighs echoing, struggling to pay for necessities. A stark contrast to the Emily I knew, the woman who effortlessly navigated a life of privilege and ease. The composed, confident Emily vanished. This woman, standing defeated, eyes red and swollen, face pale, was a stranger. I watched for a moment, unseen, wondering if she even registered my presence. As I turned to leave, a strange sensation washed over me, a complex mix of satisfaction and something else. Guilt, regret, uncertain. She didn't notice me, lost in her own private hell. But the memory of countless attempts to reach her, to bridge the growing chasm, flashed through my mind. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was something deeper, something I wasn't ready to confront. Back in the sterile motel room that night, another message. Not pleading, not demanding, apologizing, truly, deeply apologizing. No justifications, no excuses, no desperate attempts at reconciliation. Simply, "I don't know how I let this happen, John. I hurt you, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. Truly." For a long moment I stared at the screen, torn. Satisfaction warred with a sudden, unsettling realization. A connection still existed, a fragile thread linking us despite the wreckage, despite the lies. A flicker of long-dormant empathy for the woman who had once been my wife. No response. Not yet. But something had shifted within me, a subtle tremor in the landscape of my anger. Silence followed that grocery store encounter. Emily and I remained in our separate orbits. I had fled to escape the woman she had become. But now, after the detonation, the fallout. I wasn't sure if I could sustain the hatred, or even if I wanted to. A spontaneous decision, a fleeting impulse, led me to agree to meet. An urge to understand, to discern if genuine remorse existed or if it was merely a performance, a consequence of her world imploding. In that brief, painful exchange at the checkout, I saw a woman broken by her own choices, the weight of consequences crushing her. But was it true remorse, or just the inevitable outcome of her gilded cage shattering? Weeks of reflection followed that tentative meeting in Whole Foods. Each time I considered reaching out, something held me back. I had stripped her bare: house, money, trust. Was it enough? A part of me felt a grim satisfaction. The bitterness, the resentment that had fueled me for months, had cooled, replaced by a quiet, unresolved tension. Life in the motel was a pale imitation of what it once was. Unremarkable days, punctuated by loneliness, occasional bar visits, rare encounters with old friends. The life of a man severed from his past, disconnected from the world he had painstakingly built. Yet every night in the sterile motel room, she occupied my thoughts. Emily, the woman I had loved, the woman I had lost. Would the pain ever truly fade? Or was this a wound I would carry, a permanent scar? But also a dawning realization. Perhaps I wasn't the only one who had lost something in this marriage. Maybe I had lost more than just her. Maybe in the pursuit of revenge, I had lost myself too. Late afternoon, nearly a month after our strained encounter, a message from Emily jolted me. "John, I need to talk. Please." Simple words, yet laced with a sense of finality that tightened my stomach. No immediate response. Minutes ticked by as I stared at the phone, weighing my options. Ignore it, like countless messages before, or confront the raw reality of what had fractured between us. Running was no longer an option. Decision made. I would meet her, but not as the man consumed by rage, thirsting for vengeance. This time, I would search for a flicker, a trace of the woman I had once loved, buried beneath the debris of betrayal and destruction. A park, neutral ground, far from the brownstone, far from shared memories, became our meeting point. Autumn hues painted the trees, a poignant reminder of time's relentless march, indifferent to human drama. Arriving first, I saw her on a bench, face downcast. The same faded jacket from weeks ago, posture slumped, devoid of its former self-assurance. Footsteps muffled by fallen leaves I approached. When she looked up, hesitant eyes met mine, a fragile vulnerability replacing the practiced composure, almost as if she feared I might vanish again, doubting the reality of this meeting. "John," she whispered, voice soft, tentative, a world away from the assertive woman who had walked out, without a backward glance. "Emily," I replied, neutral, guarded. Words felt inadequate, emotions a tangled knot. Silence stretched, heavy, pregnant with unspoken accusations and regrets. Finally she spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. "I've been thinking about everything, about what I did." A pause, a deep breath. I've been working on myself. Therapy. Trying to understand why I became that person. Why I thought I could live a lie. Silence. I waited, gauging sincerity, searching for manipulation. I never meant to hurt you, John. Tears welled, unshed. I know I can never undo the damage, but I've learned that nothing is worth betraying someone you love. I was so caught up in control, appearances, that I lost sight of what mattered, lost sight of us. Another pause, a choked sob swallowed. You were right. I didn't deserve your trust, but I'm trying to rebuild my life, and I need you to know I don't take that lightly anymore. She shifted, uncomfortable, then looked up directly, honestly. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to hear me. A deep breath, letting her words settle, heavy, unresolved. Not easy to hear regret, to witness suffering. Not easy to admit a flicker of something remained. Long silence. Then I sat beside her, a deliberate space between us. I don't know if I can forgive you, Emily. Honest, quiet, firm. Don't know if we can ever go back. You took a lot from me. Destroyed the trust. That's not something I can just forget. A slow nod. Acceptance. I understand. Don't want to push. Just wanted you to hear me. Silence descended again. Crisp autumn air chilling the silence. Aches, memories, what once was, what could have been. Gone. Irretrievable. No going back. The woman who betrayed me, no longer the woman beside me. The hardest truth to accept. Not sure what happens next, Emily, I said finally, words heavy, unwanted. I'm not the same person anymore. Don't know if I'll ever trust you again. Don't expect you to, she whispered. But I'm here. I'll be here. When you're ready to talk. Or just be friends. Don't expect anything. Just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. She stood, walked away, fading into the twilight. I watched her disappear, lighter, heavier, leaving her, no longer angry revenge, but a beginning, a long road to rediscovery. Myself, her, the wreckage we had created. Time. Only time remained.